Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday. It's time for macro talk. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. You won't be looking at me much. There'll be other things to occupy you this evening. We're going to be looking at videos, your videos. And boy, are there some stories to go along with this one. Let me start out by saying that if my composure breaks at any time in showing any of these videos, I want you to know I am laughing with you. Know that at all times. At no point would I laugh at you. Even last night when I wouldn't admit that. So there you have it. We've got 22 videos coming up, and I'll give you a story before we start. I was in the middle of doing my third re-recording of the Laowa 100mm t2.9 macro cine lens review. This was the third time I had sat down here and tried to record it, and I just wasn't happy with the results of the first times. Then I watched the videos last night and went back and got the first video, and we'll be releasing it tomorrow. So there you go. You always look for a silver lining. Isn't that what Monty Python used to say? Let me see. I'm going to be saying some really mean things tonight, and I will apologize for them later, but I'm not going to be able to resist it, I'm afraid. So just be warned. If you submitted a video and you're sensitive about it, yeah, you might want to take tonight off, actually. But anyway, we'll see. So let me see, what else do we have going on in the world? Has everybody been okay with the changes I've made over at the website? I'm now putting all my posts over there on the blog or the plog. It's on the blog if it's for mass consumption. It's on the plog if it's for my Patreon supporters, and it contains either passwords or material that's just intended for them. So hopefully everybody's doing okay with it. If you're not, now would be a good time to let me know. If you're not, then we can work out other things. I mean, this has only been a week, but I'm pretty happy with it. It's actually a little more work than I thought. I thought it would be less work as far as where I had to go to post things, but it's going to work out better because of the B&H thing. So, something that happened this week that only happens rarely. Well, it happens quite a lot when you're brand new to photography, but after a while it only happens rarely. I took the best picture of my life this week, well, at the weekend, so in between the weeks. Right out of the blue, wasn't expecting it, and I can't show it to you because somebody's already shown an interest in having that picture. So one day I will, one day soon I will, or I'll show you something very similar. But yeah, it just bang, it hit on all cylinders, as it sometimes does. I was so excited. This is a non-presume week. That means this Saturday you're free to go hither and yon as you will, and I'm going to do the same. Though if anybody is hankering for a lesson, remember I'm going to be gone for a little while, so this might be a good weekend to get yourself taught. Not in that sense, just learn something. I got something like 3 or 4 of the best questions that I've had in yonks just today and yesterday. Great photography questions, and I wanted to answer them tonight. I didn't. I answered them in person, but I'm going to set aside one of the sessions next week to answer these questions because they are bang on, exactly the kind of stuff I didn't know when I started, and you will want to know now. So I'll be doing that. So thanks for everybody who sent in great questions. I really appreciate that. So I wanted to do a very quick, very informal poll, and that is, I want to know if I'm gone for a week, but at the beginning of that week, and then, the week before I'm okay, but the week I'm away, I'll be away, and it'll be impossible for me to live stream from where I am. Not impossible, it'll be difficult. I mean, Alistair can do it, so I can probably figure it out, but I'll be on holiday. So there's that, and then there's when I come back, the first live stream, the Tuesday one, I won't be back in my studio until the next day. So that's 3 in a row. I was thinking about doing some short videos and putting them up, but I'm not sure I have time to do that, as busy as my schedule is. So I was going to ask kind of permission. If you insist, if you really would be hurt if I didn't leave something for you to watch while I was gone, then say no. But if you're okay with me going and being gone for 10 days and your heart growing fonder in my absence, and then I'll start back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the Thursday I get back of that week, then say yes. And if we get more yeses than nos, then I'll just take a regular vacation and I may come back a better person for it. Probably not, but I may. All right. What else? That's it. That's all we've got. The layover video that you already know the result of is going to be out soon, and I'm happy with it. So you'll be getting that shortly. What we're going to do tonight is a little different, because videos, not as many entries. I can show them all. They're all short. And I am going to comment on them all. Oh dear, I am. And I've learned a lot about video in the days I've been looking at these. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to randomly, understand this, randomly, the first 17 or so videos. And then only when we get to the very end, I will start a numerical countdown. So rest assured that if your video ends up at the beginning of the program, that doesn't mean it was the worst. It just means it didn't win. You know, you can tell that as soon as you see yours. You'll know, well, shucks, I didn't win, unless you're the last one standing. But that's all pretty obvious, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is try something different. That causes blood pressures to go up all over the country. We're going to I'm going to show the pictures in a separate OBS screen, so I can kind of keep everything quarantined, and we'll see how that goes. They all worked yesterday. I got them all to work, and the sound appeared to be working fine too. So I'm going to assume that we're going to be A-OK for this. And some of these folks are folks I've not met before, names that were new to me. So if I somehow butcher your name or in some other way insult you, not about the video, then I apologize. If it's about the video, I'll apologize tomorrow. Any questions before we get started? Any comments? Any feedback? Anything really? Well, Amy says hi. I'll say hi to Amy. Hi, Amy. Nope, sound is good. Will do. Yep, all sounds good. So we'll just get cracking, shall we? No, one other thing I forgot to mention. What we're doing on Thursday. Why did I forget to mention it? Oh, because I forgot what it is. That's what it is. No, we're doing a talk that was spawned by a comment I saw written online. It said, "Flash is dead." You know, camera flash. And it's the kind of comment that does tend to rile one up if one is a photographer, because it's such a silly thing to say. Yeah, we're going to talk about that and some other comments that I've seen floating around, and we're actually going to put some facts on it and talk about Flash tomorrow. That's on my mind because we're going to be looking at a brand new kind of lighting, and it may be a flash killer for all I know. But we'll talk about it on Thursday. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Macro Talk 2. So, I'm not going to do anything. Oh, the prize. Let me tell you about the prize. It's a completely unorthodox prize. I am going to ask you guys to name something for me. Now, anybody that wants can submit a name, and I bet Alistair will keep track of the words that come in. And they'll be displayed in the chat. The winner, the person whose video wins tonight, gets to choose from those or select a name of his own for this thing that we're going to name. And I need a name for it because I've got to stop using the swear word I was using. It's an adapter. You've probably got one like it. It's white. It looks like this, but it doesn't have the same hole in it. It has a different hole in it. And it was made for a particular purpose many years ago. You used it once and it didn't work, so you put it up. But to this day, it shows up everywhere you go. You found it in the freezer. You found it in one of your shoes. You find it in your child's hair when you're brushing their hair. It shows up everywhere, and then the day comes that you need it. And where is it? Who the hell knows? It's gone, vanished. Nowhere. You look everywhere, spent hours looking for it, and you can't find it. We need a name for that adapter. What do you call an adapter that does that? And then, of course, when the time runs out and you have to abandon the plan, put the other screen away and say, the heck with it, that adapter is gone forever. You trip over it walking back to your office because it comes back again. It has an evil spirit inside it. It doesn't have to be white, but mine is, and I still can't find the darn thing. But anyway, I need a name for this adapter. It's kind of like a sweary name, but it can't involve actual swear words. All right, that's the prize. You get to pick the name, and I'll make sure that name goes forever in an eternity. Mankind will be using that word in books. Okay? All right, let's get on with the competition. We're going to start with the 22nd video, random, remember, at first. And we're going to just see if this works. I'm going to cross my fingers and... okay. You should see, if I can get it to get to the right part of the screen, you should see something now that looks like a black oblong with a grey bit in the middle. There's a delay, by the way. I'm talking and looking at the screen, but it hasn't got through to you yet, and I'm waiting to make sure you get it before I start playing it. And yeah, it's still just me talking. Okay, one other thing I'm going to try. Just hang on now, don't give up on me. There's another. Let's try that. You see it now? Yeah, you do. Okay, we're there. Golden. This is entry number 22, and while it's playing, I'm gonna open up my notes so I can remember who it's from. It's from Mr. Pearson. I'm pretty sure it's from Mr. Pearson. The rest of my notes are illegible after this. I'll shut up and let it play. Hold on to your seats. Right. Okay. That was the first entry, and I have a rule when I do these things. I say something nice about all of them because I want to encourage people to submit entries. And I spent quite a lot of time when I stopped crying last night trying to come up with a word to describe how that made me feel, but none of them seemed to really work. What was that we just saw? Yeah, I think the kindest thing I can say is it ended a little early. It didn't go the full 60 seconds. So that's good. That's good. Timing was excellent. So, yeah, that one, that's purely coincidence that ended up in that position. It really was. Though if I had to place them in order, well, I shouldn't go there, should I? All right, so I'm guessing that you got that sound and all. The sound is indescribable. If you didn't hear it, you need to turn your volume up. In fact, let me ask Alistair, did you get the sound on that one by any chance? Let me know. And everybody says yes, they want me to take a holiday. Don't blame you. Don't blame you. Okay, good. Thank you. You're very kind. And this month's competition subject, I forgot. We decided last week. What did we decide? I can't remember. I'll look at my notes. So that was number 22. Needless to say, it didn't win, even though it was a very realistic video of a flying bee, apparently. And it was from Mr. Pearson, and I still can't find the right notes. But there you go. That's neither here nor there. Let's look at the next one, shall we? And if it doesn't come up, just scream at me, because it means I need to change the... You don't care about that, do you? Just do it, Alan. Just do it. So let me find it. Number 21. This is interesting. It's from a name that I will get wrong. I'm having a hard time getting it to sit in the right part of the screen. So here we go. This is from... give me a second and it'll come to me. It's Miss Shu Chung Ho. That's it, or close enough. I can actually keep talking because there isn't any sound. These appear to be flying or swimming broomsticks of some type. So it's a kind of like a Blair Witch Project thing. Yep, yellow broomsticks zooming back and forth in a green thing. They have eyeballs, which is interesting, and they're bent in half, some of them, the constipated ones. Right, so this didn't make it to the winner's circle, and not because it's not a nicely shot piece of video. The bits we're interested in are in focus, which is good. You want that. And yeah, it goes on for 60 seconds, and then it stops. What is missing in a video clip like that? It depends on what you're trying to do with it. I'm using these as general comments. They're not really to you, Mr. Ho or Miss Ho. It's just that it brings to mind some ideas that I have about video when I see this. There are things that you could do that wouldn't distract from this, but would make it a bit more interesting. Now, this is obviously a scientific video, maybe a little over vocal, a little dubbing where somebody could tell us what we're looking at, for example, or make a comment about what they're doing, or something that engages our other senses. There's something about video with no sound, unless it is designed to be without sound, unless it is for atmospheric effect. The absence of sound can be quite off-putting. And also missing from this is a beginning and an end. And almost any form of narrative, creative process does need to have something that marks its beginning and marks its end. It can be subtle. But this feels like you walked in on a thing in progress and saw a minute of it and left without really knowing what you'd just seen. Now, there was a title, and truth be known, I can read the titles and should be. I should have read the last title, which was, I think, irrelevant in that case. But now this title was, if I could find it again, My Movie. Doesn't help, does it? Doesn't help. So using a title in a way that helps would be a good thing to do. Let's see what we have at number 20. Now, this is from someone we all know and love. This is Julie Bott's entry. And this is a more adventurous or adventuresome crack at it. And let's get right to it. Now, if in fact there is supposed to be sound to this, let me know, Julie, if you're out there watching. I couldn't find a soundtrack on it. So, it's a gorgeous piece of crystal. What is that? A geode of some kind that's been cracked open? It's a growth of crystals, and it's quite beautiful. And I like the fact that it is moving and the camera is moving. It's giving us a constantly changing perspective. Again, I couldn't tell if there had been music and somehow it didn't get connected, or if there was an issue with it. I didn't hear music on it when I played it yesterday either, so they may not have any. In which case, the same comments I just made would go. But Julie did some more adventurous things. Went for some cuts to change scene. A cut is when you stop one scene and go to another in usually rapid succession. And what you do in that process of going from one scene to the next is the cut. It can be a gradual thing, a fading out and a fading in, or it can be a very sudden thing, or it can be interrupted by some action. Maybe the screen swipes or spins or does something clever like that. They generally need to have a purpose and a reason, and they're used as punctuation in video. I will change a scene, for example, if I'm wanting to make a point, to emphasize something. I may end one sentence, if it's just me talking, end one sentence, and then as I begin the next sentence, I'm 2% larger on the screen. And that type of thing will have a purpose and an effect. These cuts seemed a little more random. They may have seemed a lot more purposeful with a vocal track or a music track. The lighting was good, the color was good. But the thing at the end, which was a bit nightmarish, the clown face that pops up for just a fraction of a second, reminded me of a subliminal cut from The Exorcist and gave me bad dreams last night. So good many points for that. I mean, you did that cracked me up. But all in all, you took on a good bit more. I didn't realize until I started judging these how making video, when you do it all day, every day, you become very inured to how difficult it is. You forget that you have to learn this stuff and you have to get it wrong a lot of times. And I talk about it as if it's riding a bike, because like I say, I'm doing it all the time. But when you're not, just timing anything in a video is nightmarishly complicated, because there are so many things you have to worry about. Let's look at the next one. And I am so impressed that 22 people took the time to do this. I mean, this is really quite impressive. Next up, at number 19, is from Eric David, and this is interesting and moderately disgusting. So let's pop over and take a look at. I forget the name of it. We knew a minute ago. The Newborn from Eric David. Right, so interesting comment from David, and this is, I of course take full responsibility for it. David says, I thought you said not to add music, and so the audio wouldn't be stripped, and that I would add the music to them. No, at one of our live streams, I said that I was looking at alternatives. But we decided that the best alternative was to just use music taken from Epidemic Sound, for which I hold a license for all of their music. So you can use any music from there, and it wouldn't count as a strike against me. If I use music that is not licensed to me specifically, it'll get stricken, even if it's in your video. It's very clearly written on the page where you submit the video. It explains exactly what you had to do to make sure that even the entry form included notations where you would mark where you got the music from, so we'd know it was Epidemic Sound. It would have been free, but listen, it doesn't matter. I'm scoring. When I did my scoring of these, I scored them as if they had music or a soundtrack. I'm only mentioning it because it's something that I think would have improved it. If you had already done that, then I'm sorry that there was a confusion and mix-up, but I did post in every place I could think of the instructions for how to do it. But this is a lovely piece of video. It's a nice overhead shot. The camera's still, the subjects are moving. That's good. Choosing something that you can control like that is a good idea. It was bothersome because I didn't realize that caterpillars, when they come out of their egg cases or whatever they are, don't just eat their own egg case. They go around nudging other caterpillars out of the way to eat their egg case, and that's disgusting. So I learned something. I didn't want to, but I did learn something. So this was a nice video, and I enjoyed it. Of course, the same comment would go for sound of some kind to accent it, or to give us more information, or to entertain us with your choice of music. You could also use YouTube Music. They have license-free stuff that you can, when you upload a video, you can add. And that would have been good too. But don't worry about it. When we do this again, everybody's been through it, knows the experience. We'll make it as easy as possible and have a bit more lead time. I may give some more specific direction next time. But let's get on with it. Next one up, number 19. This one is an interesting video. That shows, again, something that is new to me, and that's always a great place to start. Is if you have an informational type video, to make it something really interesting that people are going to get into is a good idea. This one is an Amano shrimp, which is an unattractive green-looking thing, and what it's doing is filtering eggs for some reason. It's dislodging the non-viable eggs. This is also from Shu Chung Hao, who did not know about the only one video rule, but that's okay. I have been incredibly lenient in all rules. Nobody gets disqualified from this, our first video thing. I'm talking because there is no sound with this one. And it also is pretty disgusting in a biological kind of way. But this was harder to shoot because the camera had to move. Mr. or Mrs. Ho had to keep the camera moving to keep the shrimp in center of screen, which was done well. It wasn't jittery, moving around. The interesting bits were in focus the whole time. I'm not really sure still that I know what I saw, and that's problematic. You may know what you showed because you understand the subject matter, but you have to assume your audience doesn't. And in this case, a little more information would have been helpful. So we won't say any more about that, and instead we will move on to number 17. Okay, this has a not safe for work sticker on it and a parental advisory that goes with it. And that goes for my comments after it as well. I'm sure that the submitter, whose name was not somehow didn't make it to the thingamajig. I'll find it as we go along. I know who it was. It was Kevin McGuinness. Sent this one in, and it's called Ladybird Adventures. So no sound, is that right? I hope I'm right on that. Let me see, it doesn't have a play button, which is strange. I'm going to reload this video. Just bear with me. I'll put me back on so you don't see me messing with all of these buttons. Oh, I am still on. It is just me. Hang on a sec. We had a bit of a problem with the player. It doesn't like it when I stack up too many videos on one desktop. So just let me clean it out for a second. And this is a good video, but boy, did it have me in stitches last night. Somehow what I did was I dropped that video into another video. I didn't know you could do that. I hope that I can get it back, because it would be impossible for me to describe what you're getting ready to see. Let's try that again. Okay, so this is Ladybird Adventures. Hang on, I've got to get it back to the start. You'd think I'd never done this before, right? Well, I haven't. So here we go, from Kevin McGuinness, Ladybird Adventures. Oh, I didn't turn it on. Sorry, I'm going to stop it and start it over, because you've got to see the beginning. I didn't get rid of my face, I'm sorry. There we go, that's better. Right. Well, this is challenging. Not quite sure where to begin. I do know that these two ladybirds actually metamorphosed into humans, because I was in the room next to them at a motel in Georgia about 10 years ago, and it was a jarring experience. Yeah, this appears to be a Mr. and Mrs. Ladybird in flagrante delicto. He gives it a good college try at the beginning, and doesn't get a rise out of the ladybug, and then gives it another shot at the end where I swear I thought I was going to fall out of my chair watching it, but it apparently didn't wake her up in the video. So yeah, it didn't have any sound, and I think that we should all count that as a blessing, really, all things considered, and maybe say nothing more about it ever. So Kevin, nice work. You're on a list now. You know that somewhere. They've got you on a list. Number 16. Now, just by coincidence, we are starting to get into some videos that are have some of the hallmarks of people who know how to make some videos. I really like this next one. It is from, sorry, I should have made a separate list. It's from, let me see, Nielsen Clavs. It's a rare larva that's eating some kind of a stinging nettle. And here we go. Right, so here's the deal. This had a lot of the elements that make a video sticky, that make it come together into a memorable thing. Now, it doesn't have to to necessarily tell a story in the narrative sense, but several elements were added here that held my interest. Number one, it was an insect. Number two, the sound was ambient sound. It was the sound you would hear if you were out there looking at that event occur. You'd be hearing those birds chirping. It doesn't have to necessarily be the munching of the nettles or anything like that. Just setting the stage with the sound was very effective here. The video itself was beautifully done. He had to move the camera and move focus and keep the mouth parts in focus, yet keep the light under control. So I could see here that he probably had to change the aperture a couple of times, as well as continually tweak the focus to keep the mouth parts sharply focused as they munch away. And he was able to follow that movement as the caterpillar's head moved around the arc of the leaf. Very effective. Lots of nice touches. Great subject. Great little story. And quite memorable. I don't know what the caterpillar is, what butterfly it belongs to, but I'll remember it. I'll look it up, and the color pattern and everything will stick with me, because I once saw a good video about that, a video of it eating nettles. So this was good. This was effective. Had I been numbering these, it might have been a bit higher than where it showed up at the 16th slot. But that was arbitrary, you understand. Nice job indeed, Mr. Nilsson. Next up at number 15, and not in 15th place, because this was much higher in my final ranking of scores. This is a weak spot that I have. There are certain subjects in video work that just appear to have been made to make videos of. The aphid is one of those creatures, and that is a fact that is well known to Bruce Thompson, who turned in Aphid Army as his video, and here it is. So you are already out of the gate. You're heading in the right direction if you're using aphids as your stars, because they are funny creatures to look at. They appear to be oblivious to other aphids when they're in the way, and they have this charming way of just walking over each other as if there was nothing there. Now, there were great strides here towards a more complete video, but still a couple of elements that would have helped. The footage you had was fantastic, but you know there are a couple of scenes in there that just begged to be isolated or somehow made emphasis of. The music was perfect. It was well selected. It was the kind of zany, offbeat thing that you would expect to hear when things that clownish are happening, and this is clownish as it gets. But the scene of the other non-aphid creature also walking through and walking over an aphid was funny, and it was interesting, and it told a bit more of the story. The baby aphids climbing over one another was hysterical and lovely to look at. So lots of good features. It would have been nice to find a way to tie them together Now, sometimes just the order in which you put segments of a video will make a difference and make a statement. And you ended up at the very end with one aphid, which I see this whenever I video aphids, which I do quite a lot. One aphid with his proboscis stuck in the twig, and he's completely blown up to where none of his feet will touch the ground. He's just stuck in there and full of sap. Having that, if nothing else, finding bits in the music, a phrase in the music that is particularly like a crescendo maybe, to show that something interesting or exciting is happening or is about to happen. First rate, nice job on the video. You kept everything in focus. The colors were great. Good effort. I enjoyed it. I really did. And next up, I think we're up to the 14th in our series. Yes, we are. This one I'm going to have to open up to see who it's from. It's the Ailanthus moth on a butterfly weed, which sounds like it probably shouldn't be legal, but it is. And this is a nice piece of video. I'm trying to see who shot it. You were supposed to put your name in the title, I think. I think that's what Patrick said. But I can't seem to find it. I'll find it before the clip's over. But here it is, number 14. It's the Ailanthus video. All right, from Alan Lyle, and a really nice piece of work there. Added in some new elements, added in a title, which is invaluable for letting us know what we're about to see and what we've just seen. Adding credits at the end was a nice touch. The music was a good selection. It had a tempo that was consistent with the fairly frantic movements of the moth as it fed. The video footage was good. As we get to these later videos now, I may make comments that seem a bit more like splitting hairs, but that's because with a better video I'm going to assume that you've learned a good bit already and are ready for some additional pointers. Finding a way to change your position relative to the moth may have been effective in this case. We have a tendency to shoot insects from above because by and large we're larger than they are. We're pretty big, they're pretty small. So we're used to seeing them looking down on them, and that was the predominant position of the camera in this. Finding a way to get below it, alongside it, in front of it, give a refreshing way for us to see that common creature as it does its thing. Very nice. It had a beginning and an end provided by your clever editing of the music and your titles, of course, bookmarking the video. So it felt more complete. It felt like when it was finished we had watched the whole thing. I like it. It was good work, Alan. It was one of the better videos so far we've seen. So I think we're going to start to see some really interesting stuff here in a minute. I believe you're going to like it. So we're up to number 13, and number 13 is another crystal. This one is from Robert Storost, who did Hemimorphite crystals, is the name of his video. And I'm going to let that video speak for itself here in just a second. There's probably a better way for me to get these lined up, but I couldn't figure it out in the short amount of time I had, so bear with me. So here's Robert's video, Hemimorphite crystals. All right, Robert. That was another more challenging piece of video to make. And again, I'm going to give a couple of suggestions that I think might have made that a little more interesting. Crystals beg to be lit creatively. By and large, being crystals and being semi-translucent, they do odd things with light, and they can make light. Well, you know this from your photography. They can change light quite dramatically, and it's no different in video. The fact that you had the crystal structure turning around was good, and it added interest, allowed us to see the whole thing. But a secondary movement, whether it was a slow gradual moving into the subject as it turns, possibly moving up as it turns, so that we're seeing different parts of the crystal from a different perspective. Either of those would have added more interest. Of course, it would have added more complexity too, and it would have meant you needed to have a way to move in another axis, which is not always easy. The music was an excellent choice. The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, I believe, or Sugar Plum Fairy. I don't know if it was one or more. But problematic was the fact that it ended one bar before the end of that phrase in the song, so it seemed abrupt, and I was waiting for it to finish. Minor point, the music definitely added to it, and it was a good choice of music. The quality of the footage was excellent too. It was well lit. I think you missed an opportunity to make that lighting a bit more interesting, adding a filter at some point, or rotating the light. Sometimes that has a nice effect. All in all, good straightforward video, well executed, and I'm glad you tried it. That goes for everybody. A word of thanks to all 22 of you. Doing this, getting out of your comfort zone for most of you this far, and turning something in, bravo, my hat's off to you. It would have taken an army to convince me to do that at any point. So I'm well impressed that everybody did this, and very impressed with the work. Moving on, we have now at number, what are we, 13, 12. This is an interesting one. Trying to remember, this is from Rashad Al-Sulmalti, and it's a much more challenging and difficult video clip to shoot. Let's watch it, and then I'll make a couple of comments. To watch it, we probably need to press that button. There we go. Right. Okay. This one left me delighted and confused. You took on a lot in doing this to actually create a 60-second video clip that has a full narrative. Fly eats bit of garbage, gets jumped on by a jumping spider that then eats it. You've got a nice complete arc to that story. It's something that most people, I think, would find interesting to watch. You made several attempts to do things that are much more advanced, some clever cuts, and using those cuts to tell the story, to show, to give a frame of reference to where this is going on. Problem was, each of the cues that you used to help us understand what was happening had more of a tendency to confuse me as to what was happening. For example, the music suddenly became happy and warm and inviting and friendly and lovely as the spider was sinking its fangs into the poor little fly's chest. Maybe that would have been a more suspenseful musical stab at that moment. No pun intended. The quirky offbeat music as we were introduced to the murderer also seemed a little bit out of keeping with the theme. Yeah, it was like a jolly, happy little tune as we look at this gorgeous spider, by the way. He must be a pet spider. The scene kept changing too, from what looked like a lab to what looked like a more natural setting. So I wasn't quite sure where we were. So the ideas are great, and what you've pointed up is how important it is when you're doing something like this, a creative project that's more complex, is to storyboard it, to write it out on a piece of paper. That way you can see where the disconnects are. And a tip on music. If you're going to use more than one piece of music in a clip that short, make it no more than two and have it for a very specific reason. You don't want to be... the Star Wars music at the end was a bit over the top for where we were in the storyline. All of that said, I'm only saying all those comments because you brought up so much stuff to talk about. It was a brave effort and well done, and thanks to the Fly for giving it all for us to watch that video. Good job. Number 11 is a minute in the life of a baby fish. This is a video by our very own Amy Furman. And I watched it last night for the first time, but I didn't realize it had music. So the first time I watched it, it was musicless. I'm talking slowly because I'm having a hard time resizing the window. There we go. Without the music, this video made no sense whatsoever to me. And yeah, with the music, it's a different matter. Bravo. Excellent work, Amy. That was a lot of fun. And without the music, I was lost, completely lost. With the music, we suddenly had a fish that had every bit as much tempo as my colembala from the other week. A musical fish that was dancing his way through this video was it was like what was that Tom Cruise film where he was dancing in his underwear? It was a bit like that, better than that, but a bit like that. Lovely graphics for the opening and for the closing, tied in beautifully with the music, which you handled well. Your choice of transitions, of cuts between the scenes was excellent because you timed them. You made the transition start on a downbeat, finish on a downbeat, so that the whole time you were watching it, you were keeping a pace with it. And because the baby fish is a baby and it's got big eyes, you immediately get drawn to that. So really cracking good. This was in a separate league, a higher league than what we've seen so far. Maybe I did put these in order of some kind subliminally, but Amy, this was a nice piece of work. You shot this handheld, and I would normally advise strongly against doing that, but you pulled it off. You pulled it off because it was a very mobile kind of video, and the movement worked. It wouldn't work in many other things. I'd warn you of that. But nice job. Beautifully lit. Lots of energy and interest and flow. Good video. Well done. You need to do more of this. And moving into the top 10 now. Not really yet in the actual numbers. I've just accidentally turned on a thing called television. That's never happened before. But that is not the app that that is going to play on this. So I'll try that again. I don't know how that happened. No, it won't open in... Okay, I'm going to try a plan B. This didn't happen last night. Sorry, Paul. This is Paul Daly's video. And normally it opens in QuickTime, which is what I've told it to do, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So hold on just a second. I'm going to figure something out here. If we just share the screen, I'll be able to show it to you. So this is Forager from Paul Daly, and let me get it back to the start and we will be ready to go. Forager from Paul Daly. I see that is not showing. Okay, it is app specific. So just hold on for a second, guys. I am going to pause the video and try something a little different. It'll work. So stick with me one more second. All right. So as I was saying, this is Forager. Sorry, it's only in one part of the screen. That I can't fix right now. Lovely piece of work, Paul. That, I don't know if it was supposed to have music because it was in a different app, Apple TV app, I think. It wasn't loading properly into OBS. but I didn't hear music on it last night either. Music or narration would have helped, I think, if it was done tastefully. It was a beautiful shot of a very interesting flower, and I love the way you got the bee coming in. So you basically set the stage for what was going to happen. That's called exposition in filmmaking. So the bee comes in, flies around, goes into the flower it's chosen, and starts doing its pollen thing and eating of nectar. So you did well with that. I'm guessing that camera was on a tripod. I may be wrong, but your choice of keeping the camera motion minimal was good. With something like a flying bee, you do not want to run the risk of adding seasick motion to it like I do all the time with handheld phone footage. But very nice job. For some reason, and this might have been the codec that you shot in, but it's worth mentioning just because it's a thing that happens, the colors looked a little washed out. And that may well simply be that you used a codec for the video when you made it into an exportable video clip that was different than what you used in the camera. Not sure, and it's not a big deal, but something we can explore later and see if there's a way you can brighten the colors up a little bit to show it again. Getting all of those export things right is difficult, and there are a lot of things to consider. Let's get on to number 9. And this is quite a fascinating. Oh, hang on! I just moved me to the other screen. That wasn't what I meant to do. This is from Pierre Seurat, and it's called Free Advertising. And I, for the life of me, did not know what I was getting ready to see. So this was a delightful surprise for me too. Free Advertising from Pierre Seurat. Hang on. Very clever, nicely done, a great concept, and that was a clever 3D print as well. I'd love to get the code for that. That would be a nice thing to put on the desk. Good job. You are one of the most creative people I know, and I'm not surprised you came up with something clever for this. It was good. I know you don't shoot a lot of insects, so getting the insect in there at the beginning was a nice touch. And of course, it always helps when you can find a way to reference the judge when you're making a video. You're going to see that happens again here in the last few. But nice piece of work, clever concept, well done. And you, of course, used the right music, because that's the only place you can get that piece of music. And it was neat watching it in somebody else's video. It does fit on almost anything. But nice job, Pierre. Well done. That was very good. Now we're into the home stretch with number 8. This is a very clever piece from Todd Becker. It's Ancient Coins Through the European Empires by Todd Becker. And this is an altogether different approach to video clip. And I think you're going to enjoy it. Todd Becker, Ancient Coins.
A silver dinar during King Rudolph, who had a prominent Habsburg jaw from centuries of inbreeding. This was a partial component to the downfall of the empire. This odd-shaped bronze coin was heavily clipped. It was the Dark Ages, so even little bits were worthy. Marcus Aurelius was the famous Stoic. A farmer could earn this wage in a day and buy a loaf of bread. Alexander died at 32. The reverse has a club with bow and quiver. Only a couple centuries before this was the earliest known coinage, also produced by the Greeks.
Very, very nice piece of work. Todd, that's a really difficult project you chose to do. A narrated piece of footage that has, of course, the video movement and everything else in it, where your images are clear and well lit, and you're also giving a coherent narrative that you obviously spent time working on and performing, because when you do a narrative, you have to do the vocal performance as well. All of that put together makes it a much more complicated job, and editing one of those is challenging indeed, to time the various transitions so that the vocal comes in at the right time. Very nice, very well done. Good titles. You chose a clever font to use that had a very historical feel to it. Very nice. It was an impressively difficult thing to choose, and you handled it very nicely. So we're now into numbers that really do matter. These are now the order of the videos, and boy, I agonized over this, as I always do. This was particularly difficult because, my goodness, I didn't know half the time which way to jump on a given video, because they are so good. This is Another Day by Drago's Grandma, and yeah, I'm going to let this one speak entirely for itself. It's beautiful.
Good morning, Alan. You have 400 new notifications.
Bravo. Excellent, excellent piece of work. That was very well done, very clever, very funny, very beautiful to look at. The use of a lullaby as a soundtrack was, of course, perfect, and a gorgeous bee sleeping in a gorgeous flower, beautifully filmed, and kind of forming almost like a time lapse, but more organic than that. Your shots were good. You kept the interest the whole time, whether you were moving the focus into the subject or pulling back out, whether you were looking at the rapid movements of the abdomen or the waking up movements at the end of the clip. everything fit perfectly, and the sleeping bee. And at the end, I didn't know what was happening. Suddenly it stopped, and I was thinking, oh, that was too abrupt. That needed a softer ending. And then, of course, the alarm clock comes on, and you have a real funny wise crack at the end, which is perfect. It just really worked well. It was a first-rate piece of video, clever story, held my interest, beautiful visuals, great sound. Very talented. I enjoyed that one. And you must be thinking, gosh, if it got at number 7, what do we still have to look at? I know we've run over, guys. If you want, this will be a video shortly. Otherwise, stick with it. We've got 6 more to go. And next up, at number 6, from Kim Pillegard, is a thimbleweed fruit, doing what thimbleweed fruits do. And here it is. Okay, Kim, this was also a nice piece of video. It gained high marks because the quality of the video itself was very good. You use some very subtle accents to emphasize the beauty of the plant, the very slow creeping in on the subject, the otherwise rock solid positioning of the camera. It really, really hurt by not having a soundtrack. And my brain was telling me the whole time that some kind of very subtle swelling crescendo was what was called for here. And you may well have had that and removed it from the video, thinking that we weren't supposed to have them in there, and I'll assume that it was in there. But some kind of very gradual build-up. It could have been modern, it could have been synthesizers, but something that holds your interest as we watch this thing start to swell and then to burst. It seemed a little abrupt, the ending, and I think they turn out a fair amount more than that. I don't know that for sure. But it was a good idea. It was a good concept. It was well done. I love the simple, plain background. In fairness, that was not intended to be. No offense, Kim. That was a little bit lower down my list. I didn't want to offend the folks who would actually have been a bit higher on the list had I got these in the right order. Mainly the one that you just saw from Drago's grandma. So yeah, lovely piece of video, and well done. We're up to number 5, and number 5 coming from, oh, this is so clever, coming from Wilf Meyer. This is a piece, and I've done it again. I've opened the thing in the wrong app, so let me try that again. Here we go. Figured it out this time. So this is from Wilf Meyer, and this is sprouts in a jar. And I won't say anything else. I'll just let it unwind and tell its own story. Nice piece of work. A very interesting and complete narrative again, with lovely, sharp video, showing something interesting and providing us with some written instruction as to what we're looking at, which is really, really key when you're showing things that people might look at and wonder, what is this going on? What's the jar? What's in it? You spelled it out for us with some nice graphics over the top. Well done. They were easy to read. The music was perfect for this, upbeat, but not too serious, not distracting. The way you wrapped it up at the end with a sandwich that, for the life of me, looked pretty boring. I'm not sure that I've ever had a cucumber and bean sprout sandwich before. Is that what would be considered health food? Where was the meat? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. There might have been smoked salmon in it, actually, in which case I'll go along with it. But it was lovely. Well done, complete package, beginning, middle and end, and you did it in 60 seconds. 60 seconds is a long time in video, isn't it? It certainly seems that way to me sometimes. Okay, we are down to the top 4. And yeah, I don't want to give the game away here, but this is from Patrick, so you probably already know it's going to be killer. This is from I'm having trouble getting it to move up the screen. There we go. This is from Patrick Stale. This is one of his masterpieces called Imagine. And it runs more than 60 seconds, but when you do everything that Patrick does, I guess that I won't begrudge him 30 seconds. So enjoy. This is Imagine from Patrick Stale. You'll probably want my face out of the way.
Imagine there would be a world right at your feet, a world full of incredible beauty and diversity, a world full of incredible creatures, like this sack carrier moth, which disguises itself as a piece of wood in order to be able to eat in peace. Like those little mites, unseen to the bare eyes, so small you can literally see through them. Like that tiny bug that sucks the sap out of a moss stalk. Its real strength, however, lies in its disappearance. In doing so, he jumps with an acceleration that would squeeze any person as flat as a flounder. Or these cute springtails, tiny creatures that make a crucial contribution to the continued existence of our ecosystem. The ball jumper, as tiny as it is cute, gnawing its food off rocks and branches, always watched by the watchful eyes of a tiny snail. All this in 200 square centimeters of earth. Open your eyes, grab your camera, and become a macro photographer. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. William Blake.
Brilliant work. Very, very tastefully done. Very professional, as I would expect from Patrick. It was a clever choice of structure for the video, to use it as a promotional type platform. I don't know where you got the lady with the voice, but that is one incredible voice for video. Beautifully narrated, and great footage, just cracking good footage. And yeah, it's hard to shoot, but you had a lot of good stuff in there. And in 90 seconds, you crammed a lot in. It was well done. It was very poetic, The music fit perfectly and was edited well against the rest of the sound. Great credits and all, just a complete package. There are things that I might have done slightly differently, but that comes down to taste at that point. But bravo, well done, Patrick. And the only reason that well, no, I don't have to give reasons, do I? I'm the judge. There are three people that beat you, but you'll see why. At number 3, this is from a dear friend of mine who has put just an enormous amount of work into this project, and I'll let you decide if it's paid off or not. This is Bill Wheeler's video. The title is Hamuli, and you all know what Hamuli are because I've told you. And I cannot, for the life of me, get the video to resize. Let me try it one more time. Bill works in a museum in the north. There we go. In the north western part of the country, and he works with insects. And this is an area of interest that occurred to him about a year after it occurred to me, because I have photographed the heck out of these things myself, but I've never done what he did. So this is Hamuli from Bill Wheeler. At number 3, I might add.
To fly, Hymenoptera hook both wings with a series of minuscule hooks called hamuli that arise from the front face of the downward curved edge of the hind wing and hook onto a similar downward curl on the back edge of the front wing. In this view, the curled area of the facing wing areas is clearly seen. The next view shows hamuli on the right hooked into the front wing, while those on the left are not. The next view reveals the curved offset that allows them to engage with the anterior wing. Looking up through the curved area, you can see the basal attachment of the hamuli on the posterior wing. Finally, this view reveals the thickened back edge of the anterior wing on the bottom, through which the hamuli attach.
Nice work, Bill. Once again, we had a completely different and very challenging approach to making a video clip. He was using video reconstructed from still photographs that he has taken, and he shared these pictures with me in the past, and they're wonderful photographs of a very difficult structure to find and get pictures of. But he brought it together. I liked the he's a natural educator and lecturer, and this came across very authoritative and well put together, full of good information, and a pleasure to watch. Everything about it fit together beautifully. So good job, Bill. Well done. That was well worth the hard work. We're down to the top 2, and a few of you probably have already figured this out, but yeah. The first, at number 2, is from Dan Stanifer, and the title of this piece is Deep Freeze. And just sit back and feast your eyes, if you will, on this beautiful video clip. beautiful, beautiful piece of work, Dan. That was first class, and your choice of music and the way you used it was fantastic. You had a slow build to a crescendo there at the end, as the orb of or the sphere of ice finished crystallizing. The visuals were just perfect. You lit that phenomenally. You must have been freezing your tail off outside shooting that. Very, very well done. Good choice of music. You didn't overstate it. You didn't try to do anything other than just reproduce a remarkable event accurately with clear images and a beautiful soundtrack. Well done, and your choice of graphics was excellent too. Which means there's only one video left to share with you, and this just blew me away in so many ways. I'm gonna again let it speak for itself. But for anybody who's been around for more than a few days, you'll probably recognize the title here. It is BBBB, the movie. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, it will in just a second. Hang on one moment. Let me get that a bit larger. So this is from Mr. Carey from the UK, and it is self-referential because you will remember he won the competition some months ago with his still image of the same name. Enjoy the video. A very fitting winner, I would say, from Graham Carey. What a clever and well-made video. He has brought together here at the end of the competition literally every element that would need to be in a winning submission. It's a story that has a start and a middle and an end. It has a surprise. Did you have any idea what this pen was doing? I didn't. I mean, I was thinking the death of a pen. He's going to take the ball out of the ballpoint pen or something. I didn't know what to expect. I see the pen, I hear the beeping, and it's just background. It doesn't seem relevant. I think maybe some music's going to start. Then the pen starts to move. It was at the instant that the beeping became irregular that I suddenly realized what I was looking at, that this was a cardiac tracing, and the pen was marking the when the heartbeat stopped. The video was the best by far, no, not by far, was the best, hands down. That's the same as by far, so I can't say that. The video was the best of the evening. The way he used super close-up shots to show the ball in the ballpoint and the ink and the paper and the way they interacted, masterfully done. That took a lot of work. The motion of the camera following the pen, the pen unerringly drawing the lines on the paper at such close-up in such sharp detail, first rate. He won the competition for his photograph of the ball and the ballpoint pen because it was just a jaw-dropping photograph. It was so well done. This video is a perfect accompaniment to that, because this was one of those ones that I really did not have to think very long and hard about. From the opening graphics to the closing scene, it was a complete and perfect little video clip to be enjoyed over and over again. So I hope everybody got as much fun out of that as I did. Congratulations, Graham. You are not here. I bet you're not, because it's ridiculously late at night. But I'll give you the names that have been suggested for this adapter thing, and you can name it when I see you on Thursday. And there'll be another prize too. Just got to figure out what it is. But thank you for your entry, and thank you, everybody. You really, really impressed me. And you impress me every month with your creativity and your willingness to stick your necks out and send in a picture. First class. But doing this with video, that took some chutzpah, and I saw it in spades tonight. So thank you all for doing this, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did, we'll do it again next year, if not sooner. But congratulations again to Graham and to every one of you for submitting an entry, and for every one of you that stuck around for an extra 30 minutes to see the end. Thanks for doing so. I knew this would run over, and I think I warned folks up front that it would probably take an hour and a half. So we're done, and I will see all of you, I hope, back on Thursday for Macro Talk 2, where it'll be a little light-hearted jab at what people write these days. And until then, stay safe and be well. Be on the lookout for the Iowa video. It'll be out in a day or so. I've just got to edit it one more time. Good night. I'm going to stick around long enough to just answer any questions that come in. So, yeah, good night anyway, but let's see. Okay, I've got permission to go on holiday and relax, so that's good. And okay. These are great comments, and again, I apologize to David and anybody else who got confused by my confusing message about the video music. But it worked out beautifully. Everybody did great. So I will see you next time. Take care, stay safe, and be well. Good night.